Good morning. This is Jeannie from Jeannie's Legacy Albums. We're going to start on a new project today. This one will be done with the Graphic 45 Papers Mother Goose. You will need 2 sets of the Mother Goose 12 by 12 paper crafting set, and you will need 1 of the 8 by 8 packages of paper. You're also going to need 2 pieces of medium weight chipboard cut 8 inches by 8 inches. You will need 1 piece of medium weight chipboard cut 2 by 8. You'll need 2 pieces of Tyvek cut 2 by 7.5, scored at 7/8 of an inch and 1 1/8 inch. You will need 2 pieces of 12 by 12 cardstock cut to 11 by 10. You will need 1 package of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. So let's get into this and see what we're up with. Today, in tutorial number 1, we're going to build our binder. So first of all, you get your chipboard and your Tyvek together, and you're going to need your 1/2 inch and your 3/8 inch score tape for this. Okay. Now you have already scored your Tyvek pages at 7/8 of an inch and 1 1/8. You want to fold them down so you give yourself a nice gusset in the middle. Fold them on both sides. Then you'll have this nice piece with your gusset right down the center. We're going to do the same thing with number 2. Be sure to score it at 7/8 of an inch and 1 1/8 of an inch. Then we're going to take our small piece of chipboard, the 2 by 8. We're going to attach the Tyvek to this. First thing we are going to do, we are going to attach score tape from the end of the gusset to the end of the Tyvek. Line it right up with where your crease is on your score line. I will try to keep my head out of the picture as much as I can. This one's not even, so we'll just very gently pull this up. It's easier getting it off the Tyvek than it is getting it off of paper. Line it back up to where it needs to be. You want it right on your score line. There we go. And then I put another piece. This piece was 1/2 inch. This piece will be 3/8 of an inch. And I'll line it up with the very end of the piece of Tyvek. And we are going to do the same thing on the other side. Use your 1/2 inch score tape. Line it up with the gusset. If you're not sure how it should be a 1/4 inch gusset. And I have this nice little gusset guide, 1/4 inch. It's fitting right in there. That's what we want. And then the 3/8 inch, that one's kind of, looks a little smaller. Let's use the 1/4 inch to fill this one in. And we're going to do the same thing to the other piece of Tyvek. Tape it from the gusset out. This one I'm just using the 3/8 inch score tape, and it seems to be coming out just fine. Again, line the other side up with the edge of your score mark on your gusset. That one's going to need a 1/2 inch. Now, I never get my score tape cut exactly where it should be. So I go back and clean up my edges. All the professionals out there know how to do this without having to cut them off. I always have hangover. And we'll cut the hangover off of this piece as well. Now, we want to put a line down the middle of our 2x8 piece of paper before we get started. So that would be 1 inch of our piece of 2-inch chipboard is what I meant to say. Now we will add the Tyvek. And you're going to start right on the first piece of tape that I burnished. No, I did not. You need to burnish everything very well. Both pieces. Burnish, burnish, burnish is a word you're going to hear a lot of during this video. The more you burnish, the smoother your album. And we're going to take off the inside piece of the score tape. We're going to line it up with the chipboard. Now you're going to have your Tyvek be about 1/4 inch shorter on each end of your chipboard. Line it up to where it looks good and push it down. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Take off your piece of score tape closest to your gusset and line up your chipboard with both the gusset now and where you stationed your Tyvek on the other side. So your bottoms, they're not going to need to be exact, but they'll be close. Now, on the chipboard behind that spine, we are going to remove the rest of our score tape. This gives you a very smooth and solid attachment to your chipboard. Now we are going to add the spine to our actual cover pieces. Remember, these are 8x8. Take off the first piece of score tape cover. You're going to line this up the best you can with where your score line is on your Tyvek, and yet have it also match up your spine. I love using the lines on my mat to help me make sure I at least get that part right. Now we've got that down. Before we burnish it, we're going to check it. Yes, it is 1/4 inch. So we're going to burnish here. Be very careful now when you flip it over, because this Tyvek is wobbly and you could crease it or bend it, and then you would have to start all over again. Now we're going to take this piece of the tie back off, attach it down. Then we take our other side, take your first piece of tape off, the covering for the tape. Line it up with the gusset on your Tyvek and with your chipboard as well. So you will have a nice straight piece when you're done with it. Burnish it down, check it out. It's a little bigger than 1/4 of an inch, but I'll go with it. And you burnish all of this down. Next thing we are going to do is we are going to put 1/4 inch score tape on this side, and we're going to go all the way around. No, I'm sorry, we're not going all the way around on this one. We are going to divide this into 4 equal parts. I'm thinking I'm doing this backwards. Let me think a minute. Yes, we're going to divide this chipboard mentally into 4 pieces and just stick 4 pieces of tape here and there. I like to make it an even 4. These are the parts of our book that are going to go right next to our paper that we use for our cover. And just to be double safe, I like to put a 1/2 inch piece of tape right at the end of your sharp chipboard. Both sides of your Tyvek. And then we will put the 1/4 inch tape on this side as well. Now we will burnish all of this. I like to flip it over, burnish it, get it as smooth as I think I can possibly do. And here again, your Tyvek wants to move. Excuse me. So hold things as steady as you can with this hand. Here's a piece of tape we forgot to take off. I forgot to take off. Now again, gently, we're going to flip it over, and I'm going to cut off all of my overhang. A little bit here. little bit there. A little bit on the end of the spine. And another little spot right there. Okay. Now we've got this part done. We are once again going to flip it over carefully, and we are going to put 3/8 of an inch tape all around the bottom outside of this one. I love using my handy dandy little score tape cutter that I got from scrapandcreate.com. Works really good. Okay, now we have that covered. Let's see if we have anything. No, this looks pretty good. That will be cut off, so that's not necessary. Okay, then we're going to put this aside, and you're going to pull out your 2 pieces of 12 by 12 paper. And we are going to cut it down to 11 by 10. So 11 will be our width. 10 will be our height. I always give my measurements in width first. I should have done something before I cut this first piece of paper. Let's go back and see what's up. We are going to be creasing this paper when we fold it over our binder to tuck it to the inside. You want to make sure you crease it with the grain because it's much more apt to crack if you go against the grain. Now this one, you can see, is hard to fold. If I flip it this way, it's even harder to fold. So this way would be with the grain. And we are going to be folding this one as the, we did it right on this one. Okay, now we're going to try, this one's already right. So we are going to cut it 11 by 10. Okay. You're going to take your 2 pieces of your 10 by 11 paper, and you are going to tape them together down the center. Make sure I have the width at 11. That one's at 11. And that one's at 11. So you're take a piece of your 3/8 inch score tape, and you run it down the side here. good. We'll burnish it down. And then we will attach them. Now that we have them together, we want to center them. So line them up and see what you have on each side. So over here is 11 inches. Coming this way is 11 inches. So want to mark, because we put the 3/8 inch tape on the middle of it, that threw the center of our paper off. And we want to make sure, we want to have the fold as close to the middle of our binder as we can. But if that's going to throw off our sides, then you need to fold it where the actual middle of your pages are. Double check. 10.5. Double check. 11. I didn't do that right, did I? Okay. This is the 11 inch. That brings it to 10.5. This one stays at 11. Why is that not working? Okay, if we go this way, it goes 10.5. And if we go this way, it goes to 11. So we have to make an adjustment somewhere. Erase the line I put in. And let's go halfway down with that. So for our 11, let's go 1/4, which will give us 10 3/4 on that side. Then we'll flip it over and check it here. Gives us 10 3/4 on that side. So this, we're coming in about 1/4 of an inch rather than 1/2 inch, which would be really close to the 3/8 inch size tape we put on. Okay, so now when we line this up with the line we have on our chipboard, we should be exactly in the middle with the same amount of paper on both ends. Now we are going to take our 1/2 inch tape and go all around the perimeter of our cardstock. We'll check for overhang. This one looks good. So now we are ready to put our chipboard in the middle of this. Again, match up the line you drew with the line that is in the middle of your chipboard. Check all the way around. Make sure everything looks, I did these needs to be this way because this is where this is where our spine is going to go. Okay, it looks like we are ready to undo this chipboard. Take all your score tape off. Take all your paper off your score tape. On the one side here. And again, carefully flip it over. Line the middle of it up with the line in our paper. Make sure everything looks as good as possible. Lined up straight. Put your hand down on this side to give yourself some steadiness. Make sure everything on this side looks good and then drop it. And before I score it, I like to double check the other side. So we're going to come to this side and take off our score tape covering. And gently, we are going to pick this up, bring it back over, make sure it's all lined up with everything, and drop it. Now we think it's in the right spot. Flip it over, give it a good burnish. Okay, now for the fun part. Oh no, before the fun part starts, we're going to miter our corners. Now, a lot of you have really strong, steady hands, and what you can do, you can miter it with your craft knife. Just line up your corner, cut it with your craft knife. I do not have that ability. My hands are shaky, so I draw it with my pencil. You're going to miter this on all four sides. Make sure the inside of your miter tool is up against your chipboard, not your cardstock. Corner number 3. And corner number 4. And then I go back with a pair of scissors and cut off where I have mitered. Gives us pretty much a good 1/8 of an inch to work with on our corners. There we go. Now we are ready to bring our pages in. First thing we are going to do is bend this paper. We're going to do the ends first. Bend this paper upward, up against the chipboard. Just give it a good bend. When you think you've got it right, get in there with your bone folder and make it stiff and fold it right over where it needs to go. Come inside. Going to remove our tape. And then we're going to take a corner of each end off so it gives us room to play without tacking down something else. Okay, we come back to the middle. You push it up and you push it outward. Up and outward. Burnish it down. And you've got it down. Then I come back, pick this end off, and attach it down, burnish it down. Now, it's very possible and even suggested before you do this, if you cut your 11-inch end to fit exactly 1 inch over your chipboard, then you don't have to pull that extra piece of chipboard off. Now we're going to fold those back over and go to the other end. This time I'm going to move them both at the same time, which I should have done on the other end. Now we're going to push it again, right up against the chipboard. Just push it as well as you can to bend it and get it to go toward that chipboard. Then you use your bone folder to get it to go the rest of the way, and then to start, just give it a little hint that it needs to fold over. Turn it around and we fold it in, go from the middle toward the outside, and then we can put these back down. Now we are going to do our long ends. Remove our tape. This one I'm going to wait a minute for the second row. We're going to start bending that paper. Bend it best you can. Get it to go up next to that chipboard. When you think you've got it as good as you can get your bone folder out and work with pushing it the rest of the way up and start working it over. Now I will take the second piece of tape off, and again, starting at the middle, push up and out, up and out. And then burnish it down. And you will see, oh no, I forgot something. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll correct it later. Let's do the other side and do it right. Okay? When we get here and we are ready to fold our papers, you want to have a nice fold. You don't want to get a pointy one like I did right here. You need to work the end of your cardstock. Push this little pointy thing on the end down against your chipboard as much as you can so there's no point of your cardstock sticking out. And then take your bone folder or any tool you like and try to work it around the corner. Just folding it in as nicely as you possibly can so that that looks smooth. Then you come over here and you do the same thing on this end. You fold your paper down in the corner. Push it down as close to your chipboard as you can get it. Then take your bone folder and work it around the corner. Smooth off that rough edge. Now we will go back and remove our score tape. We're going to fold this end over. Take your hands and work it to where it's up against your chipboard. And when you think you've got it pretty well trained, then take your bone folder and get serious with it. Get it up against the chipboard. And we'll come back here, start in the middle, fold it down and to the outside, down to the outside. Now, we'll come down here to our corner. Look at the nice, perfect little corner we have compared to the pointy thing we have on that side. Do the other side down. Get to our corner, smooth everything out. Press down, burnish it, get it down, get it well burnished. Okay, now this end is done. You have two nice corners on each end here. And we're going to do something a little extra today since I made a mistake, and you are going to get a lesson in the paper craft person's favorite tool, undo. This will not work if you have used glue to put your papers down, but if you have used the score tape, you just apply a good amount over where you have your score tape. Get your spatula tool out, slide it right under there. This will bring it right up. Now we're going to do the same thing to the other side. This dries very quickly, so you can, if you do cover the whole thing with undo at the beginning, by the time you get to the end, it will be dry and you'll have to waste more. I keep this stuff in stock. Okay, so this one's coming up. We need a little bit more down here. There, that one's coming up. Burnish it back the way it should be. Clean up any messes that taking the score tape off left. Sometimes you'll get little pieces that are wet and have come completely off your board, or they are over on one side or the other. Clean up all your garbage. So you're starting with an absolutely clean slate. Now I'm going to take the 1/2-inch tape and I am going to run another set of it along this very end of the chipboard. Excuse me, the cardstock. We're not going to do the chipboard again. What's there will stick. But I want to make sure we have a good solid bead when we put this down completely. So I am going to redo the edge. Now we will go back. There's no problem with that part sticking. Bend our corner over the best we can. Push it up against the chipboard. Get your bone folder. Make your curve. Get that end to curve in so it isn't poking out. We'll do the same thing on this side. I use my pick tool and I use the round end of it. Some people use this end of it. Push it. Get that cardstock up against your chipboard the best you can. Make it as even and smooth as a a corner as possible. And take your bone folder and go around the corner with it a couple of times. Now we will go back. Oh, make sure you put your lid back on. The undo will evaporate very quickly. We will take off our tape. Go back. It's already been pushed down, so we know it's going to work. I didn't clean my overhang off, so we're just going to stick it under right here. Now you see how much smoother this corner is, doing it the right way. And you can take your bone folder and just kind of go around. Make sure it's just the way you want it. Then we'll go down and do the same thing down on this end. Now you have nice flat corners, just the way you want them. Take it over, burnish everything. Now very carefully, come back to the inside and crease, kind of push the paper over your gussets into the gussets. But be careful, because you don't want to tear your paper or you'll be starting all over again. Come down to this gusset. Do the same thing. Get your cardstock into those gussets. Now we should be able to fold them up on both sides. Comes together, and your binder on the outside is finished. Now we are going to put in our hinges. Okay, you're going to cut a piece of your black cardstock. Mine's hiding. Where did it go? Yeah, I can't believe this. When you're trying to record something, whatever there is that could go wrong does. Now I cannot find my little piece for my spine. I don't know what, oh, here it is, right there in front of me. Okay, you're taking a piece of your cardstock, and you are going to cut it 11, 7.5. Okay, something we need to do before you measure that. You're going to take a good ruler. I like this Timmy Holtz ruler because you can see all the lines that are through it. Your 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 8 inch, 1/8 of an inch, whatever. You want to go down to a 1/4 inch from the bottom of your page. And you're going to just run a light pencil line along there. Same thing on this side. 1/4 of an inch. Line it up. Draw your line. Now, when you decide what size piece you're going to cut for your hinge, you'll use the full length of the 12 by 12 going one way. The other way, you are going to measure between these two lines, which is 7.5 inches. So you will cut your height at 7.5 inches. I like a 1/4 inch all the way around on my albums. Some people like them right up to the edge. Some people like them a little bit from the edge. I like them about a 1/4 of an inch. Now, your 11 inch paper, 5.5 is going to be in the middle. So you're going to line that up. Right with the middle. Of your spine. Mountain, mountain, gusset, gusset. Okay. And that is going to bring us right about here. Okay. Now we are going to score it at 4 inches. Put it on your scoreboard. Score it at 4 inches, 4 5/8, 5 1/4, 5 7/8, 6 1/2, and 7 1/8. And then we're going to take our lines and burnish them down. Get our folds done right, making sure you line up both sides as well as both ends. These are going to be your actual hinges. This album is going to have 2 pages, so we need 2 hinges. The part right in the middle is going to be your main gusset. So I fold it down first. This gusset is going to go right down the middle of your album. You can see from here. There's the center of your book, and here's the center of your gusset. Continue folding your pages. We will be making the first mountain. And when I fold them up, I bring it back this way. I fold this over, and we go this way. Now we have a nice little mountain for our hinge. We're going to do the same thing on this side. Make sure your paper still lines up. In fact, let's go this way with it. Then we can make sure both sides are even when we flatten out our mountain. Then we take the second one, do the same thing with it. It over here and fold it over here. Now we have our hinge page with our 2 hinges with a nice 5/8 inch hinge down the second. A lot of people do their hinges in 1/2 inch increments. I prefer to do 5/8 because that way I have a little more room when I'm putting a lot of stuff on the pages that are attached to these hinges. And I like it to be 5/8 going up into the pages because that way you've just got a little more meat to stick your page on. I just feel it's more secure. Now we want to attach these hinges to each other. So we're going to take the 1/2 inch tape. We're going to lay it down on the inside of the first line. We're going to skip 2 lines and then put it on the inside of the next line. We're going to burnish them down. And then we're going to remove the tape. Turn it over, grab your mountain, push it down. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. Now I'm not worrying about the overhang right now because as you'll see in a few minutes, we'll be cutting all of that off. Pick it up, pick up your mountain, fold it together, flatten it back out, put it down on each end. Now your hinges are going to come apart. You've got a good sturdy hinge. Again, this is my own preference, but when I'm building my album, I like to put the tape on the outside of the hinges the same time I put the tape on the inside so that I don't have to go back after the hinge is all done and mounted in the book and then tape these little hinges. They're much easier for me to do while they are on the outside. And I put them up as close to the top of the mountain as I can. That gives us a little bit of room. If our page should wibble or wobble, it's got a little room to play with. And you're going to put this on both sides of your mountain. Up against the top, down to the bottom. Same thing on this hinge. Go down, go up to the top, put our tape on, flatten it down. And the inside of this hinge, the same thing. Tape up at the top. Now that we have finished the hinges, we're going to go back and miter the corners. This is why we didn't have to concern ourselves with all the overhang. Just miter the corners in a little tiny bit from the line where your fold is to the top. From where your fold is to the top. Do that on both ends. Okay, where'd the fourth one go? Well, he'll show up somewhere. Now, you can see how clean and perfect your hinges are. The next part of the job, there it is going to be a little more tedious. Fold your back down, flatten it out the best that you can, get things all lined up the way you want them to be. Now we are going to cover the whole back of the hinge with score tape. I use 2-inch score tape at the moment. I'm going to, it's a little awkward for me to work with, so when this one's done, I'm thinking about trying 1.5 inch. Try to line it up in the middle as best you can, and you will never get this right. In all the years I've been making albums, I never get this spine, the first spine in the exact middle place. Now you go down to the bottom and put another piece. Then I go into this side. Put another piece of the large tape. This stuff is very sticky. Now I take my 1/2 inch tape and clean the middle the best, cover the middle as the best I can. That one's going to be a little big, so we will use some 3/8 on that one. We'll come down here. Get a 1/2 inch in. We can do another 1/2 inch on this one. See, it's not square in the middle. It does it every time, no matter how I measure it. So we're going to use some of our 3/8 inch on this one. Fills in our hole nicely. And I think 3/8 is a little big for the other side, so we're going to use our 1/4 inch. And it fits right in there. Now I want to burnish the part that has the tape on it. I don't want to burnish the overhang. Then I go back and I cut off all the overhang. Clean your scissors off really good. Get all the adhesive off from your score tape. These are the little Teflon coated scissors. You can clean them very well with your undo, but the more undo you use on them, it eats through the Teflon. So if you want your scissors to last longer, clean them off with your hands after every use. Now we are going to burnish this all down. Next step is putting it in our book. So we want to find the middle of our spine and line things up with the lines we have drawn. Make sure everything looks really good. Then carefully hold this side down. Well, actually, you're going to take your middle piece of tape off first. Now that I'm recording it live, I'm messing up. I had it memorized perfect before we did this. Once again, the middle of your gusset and the middle of your binder. Push it down. Before you burnish it, make sure it's pretty much right where you want it, that everything is on its line. Come back in here, take off some more of the tape covering. Put them down, getting them as close to your lines as possible. And then you go in for the kill with your last big piece of tape. And again, when putting your corners down, make sure that your corners are right on that 1/4 inch line that you drew. When you're sure it all matches up well, burnish it in. Flip it over and do the other side. Same thing. Only our big piece of paper's gone. So we're going to tear off the covers on our two smaller pieces of score tape. And then we will take off our last large piece of score tape. Line it up with your 1/4 inch lines. Burnish it down. And now your hinge is in your book. Now at this point, we want to very carefully bend our book right at the end of our spine, like we did when we first built it. Come over to the other side and do the same thing. Bend it right on that gusset you made. And then you can bend them a little more seriously. Okay, so your inside is done. Now, one other thing I do before I put my album to rest and build the pages, I like to cover the outside front first so that I don't use up the paper that I'm meaning to use elsewhere in the book. So I'm going to use a piece of the cover from the Mother Goose on the front and a piece of the Mother Goose on the back. But I don't want to just sit it on the black chipboard, or excuse me, cardstock. So I am going to put in a backdrop of a blue that I had in my stash. So we're going to find where our spine is. Find the end of our book, come in about 1/8 of an inch, come down here about 1/8 of an inch. And we're going to cut this paper. Didn't you guys all see me mark that? Well, I don't see them now. Oh, there's one. Okay. Now I can see the other one in the light. So we have this page cut. Should fit almost perfectly, leaving maybe a 1/16 of an inch showing. This one I did not cut straight, so we're going to trim it a little bit. It's always better to cut larger and trim than it is to cut small and not have enough paper. So we'll try this side first. Now, that one looks good. Erase any of your little tick marks. Now you're going to use I use my 1/2 inch tape on the outside cover on the front because it's going to have a lot of weight on it. And I want this paper to stay secure, not bubble up in the middle of my album. And on an 8x8 album, I like to put a piece down the middle, an extra piece, just to give it, make it a little more secure and to help keep the paper from bubbling up. You don't want to put all your pretties on the front of your album and then have a bubble in it. Okay, now we're going to go back here, measure everything up. See, I should have marked it when I did it the first time. No, it goes this way. When you measure your paper the first time, put yourself a little arrow up in the right-hand corner. So when you compact, put the paper on your album cover, you know that it's going to fit. Okay. So I take off my back piece. I hold it gently in my hand, because if you get your hand glommed onto it, then it's going to be really hard to get it off your fingers when you've got it right. Now line it up again, keeping it as straight as possible on all 4 sides. I kind of move my hand over as I go to keep it in place. Then you drop it, burnish it down. Now we go back inside and pull off the remaining tape. Little piece of overhang I missed, you just tuck it with the sharp end of my pick tool, tuck it right under the cardstock, and then you burnish it. Now we're going to put our pretty paper on. This is our Mother Goose. She's cut out from the front of the tablet. We're going to measure her. And I want about 1/8 of an inch showing all around this side. So get her lined up where you want her on this side. And then come down here and mark it about 1/8 of an inch in here. And 1/8 of an inch in down here. Now this piece I had to cut as I was building it. So I haven't distressed the edges yet, but I will before we lay it down. Once again, I didn't mark a little X in here because of the picture. I know which way the paper needs to go. I took a little too much off, but it'll work. Now you want to distress all your edges. See all this white showing through? I don't like that white on the edge of the paper. So today I am using Tim Holtz vintage paper to distress the sides of my pages. You will like it so much more than if you just put your white down. Plus it gives you a little bit of ink right on the side of your pages. Helps everything stand out a little more. Look more vintage and to look more finished. Now let's see how it looks. I think that will be perfect. So now we will put our tape Again, I'm going to use a 1/2 inch on the front all around our Mother Goose cover. I do this just for sturdiness on the outside. If you're going to build an album and spend days and weeks doing it, you don't want it falling apart the first craft fair you go to and try to sell it. You want your albums well made so that they will last forever. That includes a lot of double checking, a lot of burnishing, and paying attention to what you're doing. Now, I made a mistake earlier putting the cover on our binder. I took the time to show you how to fix that. That never should have happened. But it does. And I'd rather show you how to fix it than turn off the video and fix it and then turn it back on. Now you will find, and I should have said this at the very beginning of the video, and I will try to remember it in future videos, I do make mistakes. So make sure you look at my video all the way through before you sit down and try to actually start a project yourself. Then you will know ahead of time where my boo-boos are and how you can avoid them. Again, I'm getting all the stickum off of my good scissors. Going to take the back side. This is going to be the back side of the paper. Take the back side tape off. Hold it very carefully but firmly. Then line up all your other pages, or line up your front page just how you want it to look. Yeah, I got too much off on one side. It's going to be a little more blue. Then when you got it where you think it looks good on all 4 sides, drop that one, burnish it down. We come back inside and take the rest off. Why take the one in the middle off? I like to take the time to fold it down and make sure it's going right where I want it to go. And then you can take the other 3 pieces off with no problem. I missed something there. I must have put my centerpiece of tape too close. Boy, I sure didn't think it went to the end. But anyway, then you tack your square tape from both sides. And you will have all of your cover off. Okay, do this end. And we will do this side. Now we will burnish the whole thing into place. Then I flip it over to do the back side, but to remind myself that it's upside down, I put the little arrow up here, which shows me this corner will be the same as this corner. Now we are going to measure this piece to fit. Just like we did before. Maybe 1/8 of an inch showing. Get it right where we want it. Mark it right at your score line. And again at the top of your chipboard. I like cutting the bigger ends off first. It's all a matter of preference. And then we're going to cut the small end off. Okay, I'll make sure my paper is straight. Now we'll go back, measure everything, make sure we cut it right. This one looks okay on the first try. All right. So we will put our tape on it. Again, I use 1/2-inch tape on the cover to the album. And our piece down the center, making sure we don't go in and catch the tape on this end. Check for overflow. And with all my preaching, I forgot to put the arrow on this piece. Let's see if we've got it right. I can't tell. And I'm gonna cut a hair more off on this side. I like this much better. Okay, we're going to go ahead and lay it down. You don't have to worry about the directionality because there's no pattern on this piece. Get it lined up where you think you want it. Checking all 4 sides constantly. Make sure everything is even and drop your page. Then go in and take your middle strip off. Fold it out and take the remaining strips off. Burnish it down well. Now we're going to take our back piece. This one is directional and our arrow is covered. So we know this is the corner that needs to go up. So I'm going to put a little arrow there. I will cut this to fit and I'm doing it upside down. And we're giving, what, about 1/8 of an inch on this side. So we are going to cut it 1/8 of an inch here and 1/8 of an inch here. It's hiding right down here. And then this one is right here. Now we see how this one looks. Almost perfect with the other one, which is what we were wanting. Now, because I just did it, let's get the pencil marks off. We're going to burnish the edges. Remember, you're holding your paper upside down because you want it to be right side up when you turn your book over. There's my arrow. This looks good. So now we will put the tape on this piece. Boy, that's a bright color. It kind of makes your eyeballs wiggle around. And again, put your piece down the center. Don't get too close to the piece on the edge. Once again, I will check my overhang. There's a good piece right there. A little bit up here. A little bit up here. Now we will attach it to the book. This will be our back corner in this case. Pull off our tape, cover, and again, hold it carefully on this side so your fingers don't get totally attached to it. Try to line up your paper, giving equal sides of blue everywhere you look. The top and the bottom and both sides look pretty good. I'm going to drop it. Go in and take our center piece off. Watch it when I bring it down again. And then we can take all the other score tape covers off. I'm going to take my bone folder. I really like this bone folder because it fits my hand. I like it better than the little rectangle ones. I have never been able to find another one like it. So if anyone ever sees one like this, please message me on the YouTube board and let me know where you found it. Okay, front and back is done. Now we're going to do the spine. And we're going to cut a piece of the blue that's going to fit in the middle. On the inside of the spine, match it up with the blue you've got on both pages. And on the inside of your spine. And down here, the same thing. And we will see if it fits in the spine. Yes, it does. It fits just about perfect. Okay, we'll erase our little tick marks. And notice I have the book right side back up again for me. Now in small pieces like this that I can hold in my hand easily, I use art glitter glue to attach them. And I plugged it up a little bit last night. Just a little tiny bead all the way around all four sides. And then I like to run a bunch of squigglies down the middle. Not heavy, just little light pieces. Line it up with your cardstock on your pages and with your seam. I think this one's a little too far off. It needs to be over a little more. You have a few seconds with this art glitter glue to make changes. But once you burnish it, it's done. Okay, that looks good. So we'll burnish that down. And when we're done with the cover, I will come back and put a leftover piece on the spine. The main thing I want to do is have my covers completely done before I use up the paper. Now join us for our next video where we will make the pocket pages that go in the album, and we will build the inside front cover and the inside back cover. Thank you.